see how our student. Thank you.
Being recorded.
Hello, everyone. We're going to start in a moment. Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, students. Thank you, colleagues, administrators. We'll start in a moment. We want to give everyone at least like a minute to join. Hi, Mary. Welcome. Hi, Nakanarak. I hope I pronounced your name well. Hi, Don. Hello, students. Hello, everyone. Hi, Carla. Oh, I'm sorry you couldn't find the link. I was able to copy it from the PDF file, and I just shared with the students the exact link because the embedded link, you know, sometimes students don't know how to access, or it can be harder, right? Hi, Yahel. Umu, you cannot hear us? Oh, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry if someone cannot hear us, it may be your audio, most likely. If it's just one of you not being able to hear me, maybe try a different device like mine. I have my extra, my plan B. Or maybe try to mute, check your audio. I hope it's working. Hi, Ingrid, welcome, and welcome to your students. Well, they're our students too. I'm going to claim them. We're going to get started to respect everyone's time. Good evening. My name is Mariana Silva. I teach non-credit ESL. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I have the privilege and the honor of introducing our amazing guest speaker today, our colleague and friend, Crystal. Crystal will share with us her story of resiliency, recovery, and indomitable spirit. So before I introduce her, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping with our participants. So please use the Q&A or the chat if you would like to send any comments or questions for Crystal. She will start her speech, but we can address all your questions, all your comments at the end. You can also raise your hand at the end so you can ask the question directly. What else? I wanted to welcome again everybody, colleagues, administrators, students. Thank you for being here. There may be community members too. Welcome and thank you for dedicating your time to us. Again, we'll try to answer all your questions at the end, but feel free to type them in the chat or in the Q&A. Okay, we're here for you. So now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Crystal. So our dear colleague, Crystal, has a master's degree in education, and she teaches non-credit ESL at Miracosta College, as well as various writing courses for UC San Diego Extension's copy editing certificate and creative writing certificate. Crystal is a California-born educator who has taught English as a second language in both El Salvador and Spain. Crystal graduated with her bachelor's degree in political science from the San Francisco State University in 2006. Following the completion of her bachelor's degree, she earned a TEFL teaching certificate in Madrid, Spain. After years of living and teaching abroad, She moved back to San Diego to obtain a Master's of Education in TESOL from Alliant International University in 2009. And these are Crystal's educational accomplishments. You will hear more about her personal ones in a moment. I also would like to share a disclaimer with you. The views and the views and accounts expressed are the author's own and do not reflect views of or serve as an endorsement by Miracosta College. I will give the floor to Crystal. And again, thank you for joining us. Let's welcome Crystal. Thank you for taking the time to be with us and to share your life experience with us, Crystal. Welcome.
Thank you, Mariana, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to just take a second to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint that is going to accompany my presentation, and today I'm going to talk about my personal story in overcoming cancer. So before we get started, I wanted to begin with a couple questions. So number one, what is cancer? Number two, how common is cancer, or what percent of men and women will get cancer in their lifetime? And number three, what are the 3 treatment methods that doctors use to treat cancer? So I'm just going to go ahead and jump immediately into these answers. So in the first question, cancer is uncontrolled cell growth that forms into a tumor with the potential to spread through the body and invade organ systems. In terms of how common is cancer, it turns out that it's very common. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will statistically experience cancer in their lifetime. And this is for the United States, so it might be different in different countries. And in terms of the 3 treatment methods that doctors use to treat cancer, you've probably heard of these before: surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. So I want to go ahead and get started in talking about my story and how it all began. And it's not that long ago. It was in February 2018. I had just turned 35 years old. Everything was going well in my life, but I started to have a lot of back pain in my sacrum. And if you look at the picture on the right, you see the red part, which is the sacrum. So sometimes people say or ask me, where exactly is the sacrum? And it's the very end of the spine. And I was having so much pain that I was taking multiple trips to the ER, and doctors didn't really know exactly what was wrong with me, but they thought I probably had either a herniated disc or a bulging disc. And they said that the pain would probably be better in about 4 to 6 weeks, but the pain just kept getting worse. So I kept asking the doctors for an MRI so that I could see what was really going on. And they didn't want to give me one because they thought I didn't need one. But I just felt like there was really something wrong with me. So they finally did allow me to have an MRI, and that was in May of 2018. And everybody was shocked, including myself, to find that there was a tumor on my sacrum the size of an egg, which is quite large. So the next step was for the biopsy. So this is where doctors do a test to see whether the tumor is benign or malignant. And malignant is another word for cancerous. So it came out, my diagnosis was that I had a rare bone cancer called chordoma. And I was told that it's quite rare, that less than 1 in 1 million people have it. It's very difficult to treat because it's a very stubborn tumor, but they also told me that it was a slow growing tumor. So my next question was like, okay, well, how do we fix this? What can we do? So the doctor told me that surgery was the only way to fix this. And he explained to me that chemotherapy and radiation don't work for this type of cancer. So I said, okay, well, let's do the surgery. But then I came to find out what the surgery would entail. And it turns out that this was a really brutal surgery. So it would involve amputation of the sacrum and total loss of bowel and bladder function for the rest of my life, using a wheelchair for at least 1 year or 6 months to 1 year after the surgery. So basically like learning to walk again. I would have hardware installed, metal plates, rods, pins, so that I could have pelvic stability. And I was also told that I would most likely never surf again. And that was very devastating for me to hear, because surfing for a long time has been a big part of my life. And around that time, I was traveling. You know, one of my favorite things to do when I had time off was travel to different countries and go surfing. So that was really difficult to hear. And then, as if that weren't enough, the doctor said one of the risks, the probable risks of this surgery, is that I may never be able to walk again normally. And many people who have this surgery have to walk with either a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. So after I found out all of this information about the surgery, I said, there's no way I'm going to have that surgery. There's no way I'm going to get a second opinion and talk to another doctor. So I ended up getting a second and a third and a fourth opinion. And 4 different doctors told me exactly the same thing. They said, I'm sorry, but surgery is the only way to treat this. And I still decided that I wasn't going to have the surgery, that I would find another way. And the only piece of good news that I had heard was that it's a slow growing tumor. So at least I should have some time to explore other options. So the first thing I started doing was I started seeing a naturopathic doctor who put me on high dose vitamin C therapy, which is sort of like a natural chemotherapy, and also just lots of herbs and supplements that are supposed to fight cancer. And I was probably taking around 50 pills a day at that time. And about 6 weeks later, it was going to be my next MRI. They wanted to do another MRI to perhaps prepare for the surgery. And because they told me it was slow growing, I was thinking that probably the MRI or the tumor would be the same size, or maybe even it would be a little bit smaller because I was doing these treatments. So what actually happened is that when I got my MRI, we saw the results and were shocked that it had grown 3 times bigger. So now, instead of a size of an egg, it was now the size of a grapefruit. And on the right side, you'll see a picture of my actual MRI and the tumor at the end of my spine, which is highlighted by the pink circle. And the doctors were so shocked that they thought that I might have been misdiagnosed. So they wanted to do another biopsy. And they did do another biopsy, but it turned out to be the same result. It was chordoma. It's normally slow growing, but for some reason in me, it was fast growing. And so the doctors were, again, putting a lot of pressure on me to get the surgery. And they told me that the bigger the tumor gets, the more likely it is to spread. And they said, when it spreads, it's going to go to your lungs and to your brain. And once it goes to your lungs and your brain, there's not much that we can do for you. So that was like this extra pressure and fear and anxiety I had about this. But I still didn't want to have the surgery. I still wanted to explore another option. So I had met a woman who told me about this hospital in Tijuana called the Oasis of Hope Hospital. And I met her. She used to have stage 4 breast cancer, but after going to this hospital, she is totally cancer free. And I just thought if it worked for her, maybe it could work for me. So it was this special hospital that had cutting edge alternative therapies to treat cancer. And it was not cheap. It was $30,000 for me to stay there for 3 weeks. And at the time, I didn't have that money, but I was very desperate. So what I ended up doing was I put the money on 4 different credit cards. And my family really wanted me to get the surgery. So they were not really 100% supportive of me doing this decision, because of course they wanted me to have the surgery in order to have the best chances of having a longer life. And these are some of the pictures from my time there. On the left, I'm here with my nurses. So it was just great staff. And on the right, you'll see a picture of me in my hospital room. I just got lots of attention from the doctors, the nurses. They took my blood work every day. And behind me, you'll notice that I have a surfboard. I actually brought my surfboard to the hospital because it's right on the beach. And it was great. You know, I thought everything was really working because at that time I started to feel better. I started to have less pain, and I was actually able to go surfing, whereas like maybe some other days I wouldn't have been able to. So I really had high hopes. And at the end of the 3 weeks, they gave me an MRI, and I was really thinking that maybe I would see some progress. However, I was very disappointed, devastated actually, to find out that the tumor was even bigger. So it was still growing. And at the end of the treatment, the doctors there recommended that I try something called proton beam radiation. It's a little bit different from traditional radiation in that it's more targeted and there's fewer side effects. And the doctors had found two studies, one from Japan and one from Italy, where people with my kind of cancer had undergone proton beam radiation and it actually had been effective. The only problem was that these studies were like 25 people or 30 people. So it was still like not a big sample size to make, you know, you feel really safe. But they said, you know, you might want to look into this. So I did. I found a radio oncologist in San Diego who was willing to treat me. He did not want to treat me at first. He wanted me to do the surgery. But after I told him I'm not willing to do the surgery, he said, okay, I will treat you, but we have to hit it really hard. And he meant that we have to give it an extra high dose for it to be effective for this type of tumor. And he explained that most cancer patients will get 40 to 50 grays, which is the dose of radiation. But for it to work on my tumor, it would be at 77 grays. So that's something that I was hearing all the time. Wow, 77 grays, that's a lot. And I was like, okay, sign me up. And so I started the radiation therapy in September of 2018, and it was going to be for 8 weeks. However, I had no idea how much pain that it would cause me. So if you think about it, the tumor it was basically wrapped up in my root nerves. And those are all the nerves that go down your legs, including your sciatic nerve. So I had that pain, but then when they hit it with the radiation, it just inflamed and made everything extremely painful. So I ended up quitting after the first week of radiation. I said, I can't go back anymore. It's too painful. And then the doctors would call and they'd try to convince me to come back. And they said, we'll give you more pain medication. And I was already on morphine, but then they were giving me a higher dose of morphine. And I ended up going back, and then I ended up quitting again because, again, the pain was too high, but then they would increase my pain medications even more. So I ended up being around that time on 9 different pain medications. I remember that I was on 180 milligrams of morphine per day. And I was also on Dilaudid and a really strong steroid called dexamethasone, a maximum dose of gabapentin, and just other medications that I can't even remember their name, but like muscle relaxers. So I was in a lot of pain, and so much pain that I actually was no longer able to walk, sit, or stand, because every time that I would stand up, all the nerves that went up and down my leg would just feel like they were on fire. And sometimes I describe it like I felt like somebody was taking a knife and just like cutting my nerves. Like it was so painful. And the only way that I could escape this pain was by lying down on my stomach. I could not lie down on my back. I couldn't sit because of the location of the tumor. And so, of course, I couldn't walk either. So during that time to go to my treatments, I would lay in the back of the car, lay flat on my stomach. Then when I would get to the radiation center, I would use a walker to walk. And even that was extremely painful. And then I couldn't sit in the waiting room. So they would take me to a private room where I would lay down. And it was just a very difficult time. And I ended up, so my mom was pretty much taking care of me full time. I moved in with my parents. She was cooking my meals and doing everything for me because I could stand up just long enough to maybe go get a glass of water, or maybe I could, of course I could go to the restroom, but like pretty much most of my days I was just laying down. I was in bed or on the floor, just on my stomach. So I ended up finishing the treatment in November 2018, excuse me. And I was ready to get an MRI. And also one other thing I forgot to mention is that around that time, the doctors gave my mom a training on how to, or what to do in the case of an overdose. So there was a lot of fear that I could have an overdose because I was on so much pain medication. So there was this like delicate balance between the doctors, and they wanted me to complete my treatment. They didn't want me to stop because then I could, then it could spread and then I could die from the cancer. But they also didn't want to give me too much pain medication, because then I could die from an overdose. So it was definitely a scary time that gave me a lot of anxiety to be taking all of these medications. So I got the MRI and I was convinced that the tumor would be smaller because I had gone through radiation and it was a lot of pain. And I just felt like there's no way I could have experienced this pain for nothing. However, the MRI showed that the tumor got even bigger. So of course I was devastated, but the doctors convinced me that it doesn't mean it wasn't working. It's that I need to give it more time. So they said, sometimes you need to wait like 3 months in order to see the results from the radiation. So I said, okay. So they said, wait 3 months. My next MRI was February 2019. But the tumor was even bigger. And by that time, it was the size of a honeydew lemon. And I just remember getting the MRI report and I remember seeing 14 centimeters and my jaw just dropped to the floor. Like I just could not believe it. And I really was about ready to give up at that point. I just like give up on life, just give up on everything. I just felt like I had tried everything. I was very depressed, and I just basically agreed to do the surgery because I didn't know what else to do. So the surgeon was up in UCLA. So I went to go see him, but he said surgery was not an option at that time because my skin was so damaged from the radiation. So he said I would need to wait 3 more months. And he explained to me that if he does the surgery and the skin is too damaged, it will not heal. And then I would have like an open wound. And if you have an open surgical wound, then you're at risk for infection and sepsis and possible death. So that's why he was not willing to do that. So because, again, like I mentioned before, I was constantly being told the bigger it gets, the more likely it will spread, and then it will go to your lungs or your brain. You need to get this taken care of as soon as possible. But now that I was trying to get the surgery, they said, no, you need to wait 3 more months. So of course I had even more anxiety and fear. So I thought, what else can I do? And I asked myself that question over and over. And I decided that I would try meditation. I would really just really try meditation seriously, because I had been doing, bits and pieces, maybe 10 minutes here, 15 minutes next week. And I really wanted to really make it a dedicated practice. And I wanted to talk about why I decided to do meditation. And it has to do with a man that I met on the beach back in April of 2018. I had been sitting on the beach, and around that time, I had no idea that I had cancer. I just had the pain, but I thought, I have a herniated disc that was hopefully going to heal. And I was sitting on the beach in Ocean Beach, where I was living at the time, and I was reading a book. And this elderly man walked up to me and he said, hey, what are you reading? And we started to have this conversation, and we ended up talking for about an hour. And it was a really profound conversation. And he was telling me a lot about his life story. And one thing that I really remember him telling me was that he had cancer. In the past, he had an experience with cancer where he had stage 4 cancer, and the doctors had tried everything to heal him and nothing was working. And they were suggesting hospice care. But he decided that he wanted to come to the beach and just spend his last few weeks at the beach. And when he came to the beach, he decided that he, for whatever reason, was just going to meditate. So he meditated, I don't know, for hours each day. I don't remember how long, but I think it was probably a few months. And after a few months, he just started feeling better. So he went back to his doctor, and his doctor said, "We cannot find any cancer in your body." So that was like an amazing story. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And I didn't know that I had cancer at the time. So I just thought it was a great story. And then the last thing that he said to me was, "I don't know why I felt so compelled to talk to you, but I'm sure there was a reason." And then we said goodbye, hope to see you around. And that was that. And then 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I wanted to find this man again to tell him and to see, like, what he thinks. Does he have any tips? I don't know. I just wanted to talk to him. So I ended up seeing him again 2 more times, but I never got the chance to talk to him, because what happened was, the first time I saw him, I was driving in my car. He was walking on the sidewalk. And by the time I realized that it was him, I had already driven a couple blocks. So I turned around and I came back and I couldn't find him anywhere. And then a third time I saw him was at the Ocean Beach Farmers Market. I saw him kind of across the ways and in the distance. And I was like, oh my God, it's that man. And so I tried to like go through the crowd and find him, but I just couldn't find him. But I remember very clearly that I saw him. So I felt like it was kind of like a reminder about that man. And so I always had that in the back of my head, that I really want to try meditation as like a tool to help me heal. So that's sort of why I decided to take meditation more seriously, especially because my anxiety was so high. So I decided to start with Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations. And a woman at the hospital in Mexico told me about Dr. Joe Dispenza, who specializes in meditations to help people heal. So I started doing his meditations and visualizations. And after 1 week, I felt total peace. It was such a big difference. I felt like all the fear and anxiety just went out of my body. And I just felt like I knew everything was going to be okay. And I started meditating for like 2 or 3 hours every day for about 3 months. And of course, at this time, I was not working. I hadn't been working for maybe 6 to 9 months by now. And I started to notice little by little that I was able to sit, stand for a little bit longer, and then also even walk like a little bit without the walker. So I started to notice these changes, but I didn't think anything of it really. I didn't connect it to the meditation, because I just felt like meditation was helping me with my anxiety. And I actually started to feel better and better, that I started reducing my pain medications. And my next MRI was May 1st, 2019, which was 3 months later from the last one, which showed 14 centimeters, or like the size of a honeydew melon. But I remember something interesting about this MRI. I felt no anxiety and no worries. And by the way, this was my 9th MRI at this point. And every single MRI that I had before that, I felt like a lot of anxiety, like what if, and I just would I would just have so much anxiety waiting for the results. And this one, on the other hand, I just felt like I was going to the dentist almost. And I just wasn't worried for some reason. And I got my MRI results the next day on May 2nd, and the doctors called and said, your tumor is smaller. It shrunk by about 30%. And I did not expect that. And of course, I was elated and over the moon and just so happy. And then about an hour later, I got another email from the Joe Dispenza, I don't know, staff that I had won a scholarship to attend a 7-day meditation retreat in Oregon. And the meditation retreat is like $3,000. And they were going to pay for that for me and my hotel and my flight to go. So I was like super excited. And I was like, wow, 2 amazing things happened in one day. And this day will always be important for me, May 2nd, 2019, because that's the day when everything started to turn around for me. So I wanted to take a step back and talk a little bit about this term synchronicity because it's important to my story. And this term synchronicity was coined by Carl Jung, the psychologist, and the meaning is 2 events connected to one another, not by cause and effect, or you can also think of it as a meaningful coincidence. So different people think about synchronicities in different ways, but some people believe that a synchronicity is a sign from God or a sign from the universe that you're moving in the right direction, or to kind of give you a hint about something. So my first synchronicity was back in April of 2018. As I mentioned, the man on the beach who told me he had healed cancer with meditation. And then 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed with cancer. So those 2 events I felt were like a synchronicity. And then the second synchronicity was me winning the scholarship to attend the meditation retreat, but then also my getting the news that my tumor has shrunk significantly. So these 2 pieces of really great news happened on the same day. And at first I just thought it was random, it was a coincidence, but then as time went by, I started to see it more as a synchronicity. So I took the message to be that meditation was healing for me. And I decided not to have the surgery because by this time, the doctor at UCLA was calling me and saying, hey, come back up here. I want to check out your skin to see if we can do the surgery. And I said, well, I'm going to hold off for right now. Then I continued to have progress. I continued to meditate and visualize every day, and I continued to feel better every day. In July of 2019, I went back to work part-time. I moved out of my parents' house and back on my own, and I started surfing again. But even when I was working at, 8 o'clock in the morning, I would still wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would do my 1-hour meditation. That habit never left me. So I just continued doing that, and I continued little by little to feel better and better. And in September of 2019, I got another MRI. And again, the tumor was even smaller. By now it had shrunk by 70%. And in October of 2019, I was completely off all medications and I was 100% pain-free. And this was a big deal for me because by far the worst thing about what I went through was the pain. My pain was like always a 10 out of a 10. I mean, not always, I would say since the radiation. And I remember thinking that, I would be like talking to God and I'd say, if I have to be in a wheelchair or if I have to be on medication the rest of my life, like, that's okay. I just don't want to be in pain because I cannot have a good life if I'm in pain. And it's just something that I was like constantly wanting to go away. The number one thing. So for me to be completely pain-free was a big deal. And I 100% believe that meditation had a lot to do with that. November of 2019, I could walk completely normally. I could sit and stand for long periods of time. I remember the first time like being able to empty the dishwasher without having to lay down. I remember the first time being able to sit at the dinner table with my family and have dinner instead of like laying on my stomach on the floor. And it was a big deal. And for a while I was limping because I had some kind of radiation damage to the nerves in my leg. But I remember one day my coworker said, hey, you're not limping anymore. And I didn't even realize because it's just like so little by little that I have to really look back and see how far I've come to see the difference. And I continued to get MRIs every 6 months, and every MRI, the tumor was smaller and smaller and smaller all throughout 2020. And then in July of 2021, which was about 3 months ago, something really amazing happened. And that was that doctors classified me as no evidence of disease, which is a really big deal, what every cancer patient wishes for. And there's basically 3 classifications. Number 1 is progression of disease, which you don't want because the disease is progressing. The other one is stable disease. So maybe if you have a tumor, it's not getting bigger, but it's not getting smaller. And then there's no evidence of disease. And this is kind of like the doctor saying, we're not worried about you anymore. And it doesn't mean that I don't get MRIs. They still want me to do an MRI once a year. And that's pretty standard for anybody who's ever had a cancer diagnosis. You continue to get MRIs pretty much for the rest of your life. So in summary, I had tried naturopathic treatments. I had gone to a very expensive hospital in Mexico, Oasis of Hope. And I also had the high dose proton beam radiation, but all throughout those treatments, everything I tried, the tumor continued to grow and was getting bigger. But once I tried meditation, everything seemed to turn around for me. And I'm not saying that meditation was 100% what healed me. I just think that meditation was kind of this key that made it possible for other things to start working for me. So I do think that the radiation and, my treatments that I had in Mexico did have some effect, but I just feel like because of the synchronicities that I had, I felt like meditation was such a big part of my healing. So what I realized through my experience that I had used my mind to heal my body primarily. So this was through meditation and visualization. And the way that I think it works is that it will reduce the fear, the anxiety, the depression, and this can basically block you from healing. So there's maybe some of you have heard of the 2 different types of nervous systems, the parasympathetic nervous system and then the sympathetic nervous system. And for our body to be able to heal, we have to be in the relaxed state. So that's why I think meditation really helps to work to help people to heal. And I also feel like visualization especially tells your subconscious mind to heal the body and also makes it possible for your body to respond to the treatments. And gratitude and appreciation was another huge part of my practice when I was going through this. I had learned this before I got sick. It was definitely something that I held onto very tightly because it really helped me through. And what I would do is I would just write every morning, like, what was I grateful for? And I would constantly try to hold on to that. And during this time when I was really having a difficult time, I had so much love coming from family and friends that it was really actually easy to just really just bathe myself in that appreciation. And I also really worked on developing this belief that I could heal through listening or watching YouTube videos of how other people healed. And I also was constantly reading books on healing and other people healing from cancer. And it was just kind of this mind trick that if they could do it, I can do it. And I was basically feeding my mind with this belief that it was possible to heal. And I also want to mention there's many other things that I think contributed to getting better. And of course, like I mentioned, friends and family support, definitely prayer. So people were always telling me, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. And then a lot of people were telling me, my entire church is praying for you. And even people that I didn't know were writing me emails and cards and sending me flowers. And also I, did some hypnotherapy, a lot of journaling just to kind of go through any suppressed emotions and things like that. So all of these other things I think were helpful as well. And my overall message is that meditation is very powerful. It can help you heal. And I also want to just make it clear that I'm not saying you should ignore your doctors. I definitely think you should listen to them, but then also use other tools like meditation. So I've had a few friends and family who have been diagnosed with cancer since I've healed. And what I recommend is just whatever you're doing as a treatment, in addition, try meditation because it can really help your treatments work even better. And also just having this belief that you can do it, you can overcome any situation, having that mindset. And I wanted to just mention some of the resources that I use. So as I mentioned, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he had the meditations that I used, which I purchased from his website, but also sometimes I would do free meditations from YouTube. There's so much out there that's great on YouTube. So that's another place to explore. I don't think that you have to do Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations to get a benefit from it. It's just that his meditations are like at least 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours. Most people, they don't want to meditate for 1 to 2 hours. But I think it's like anything else, like with exercise, for example, if you exercise for 10 to 15 minutes, that's great. That's good for your body. But if you exercise for 1 hour, you're going to see results more quickly. So I think of meditation like that. The more time you put into it, the faster you'll see these results, and you'll notice a difference. And then, like I mentioned, I was constantly reading books. Like the first one was about a man from Australia who had bone cancer, and he healed himself through meditation. So a lot of these books, I just felt like made me realize I was not the only one that used meditation as a tool to heal. And that's about it for my story. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have by posting in the Q&A or the chat or raising your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for giving us your time, putting effort into this and sharing with us. This morning, when we had you in our first session, there were a lot of comments about your tenacity and your grit and your resiliency. And I've been reflecting on that today. And I think also bravery. And I think some of us said bravery, because a lot of us go through challenges in our lives. It's hard sometimes to share, to open up, because you become vulnerable, right? So thank you for being so brave to share with us and to educate us from your own personal experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. Appreciate it.
And everyone, we have about a little bit over 15 minutes, about 17 minutes that Crystal can take questions, comments. You can type them in the chat, in the Q&A, whatever you feel comfortable. You can also raise your hand if you would like to talk to Crystal, ask her a question. Also, I would like to ask you to be mindful of the time. So try to address your question, but think of others so we can give time to everyone who would like to say something. So thank you. Lupita is saying, great story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lupita.
Thank you, Don. Don is also very thankful, Crystal. Kimberly said, Kimberly Zarate, I think, or Zarate. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. I'm glad things took a good turn in your life. Wow, very good. Very nice English, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Alvaro, thank you for sharing part of your life. Yes, yes, these stories connect us, right?
Thank you, Alvaro.
Don't be shy. We're not going to judge your English, okay? We're all English teachers. And think of Crystal. I was amazed that she was in Spain and Ecuador teaching, taking courses, right? So a lot of the ESL teachers have that experience. So we know. That's why we chose this profession. We understand you. Lupita,
I have a question, actually. Crystal,
yes,
can you hear me? Crystal, would you ever consider writing your story as a book?
Great question, Trisha. I really do want to write a book. Yes, maybe in the next few years, I would like to. Definitely. I love writing. I'm a writer as well. So I would definitely plan to do that because I feel like there's a lot of details that I didn't share that are also very interesting to the story as well. So that was kind of just the nutshell version. But yeah, definitely. I plan to, so I'll let you know.
Yes, we look forward to reading.
Thank you, Trisha. Lupita, I'm not sure if this is a question or a statement. Lupita said meditation is same to pray. Is that a question, Lupita? Did you mean as a question to Crystal, or that's your opinion? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I can comment on it either way. I would just say, yes, I agree. I mentioned this in the morning as well, that I think one of the best ways to think of meditation is that prayer is like talking to God, and then meditation is like listening to God. So, what I mentioned was that sometimes when I would be in meditation, I would just have this intuition that I should call somebody, or that I need to do something, or if I'm not sure what to do about a situation, then going into meditation will help me decide, because it will kind of give me a feeling, or I'll have some idea about something. So I definitely, because when you're meditating, you're definitely not talking and you're trying not to think, you're trying to empty your mind, clear your mind, because what's in your mind is everything that comes from society and work and everything. So if you really want access to higher answers, I think that meditation is great. And yeah, you're just silencing yourself and kind of listening for, whatever might come up. And a lot of times for me, it was like surprising. So great question. Thank you.
Carlos Ramirez is also saying, thank you for sharing your story. God bless you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Judith Sanchez, I don't have any questions, but I'm so grateful you decided to keep fighting. You are an inspiration to all. I hope you have an amazing, beautiful life. Oh, so sweet.
Thank you, Judith. That's sweet. I hope the same for you.
I'm gonna continue reading more of the comments. Guadalupe Flores, thank you for sharing your beautiful experience.
Brianna, if you don't mind me interrupting, one person had a question. I think it's Monica. She'd like you to tell her how she can start doing meditation.
Yeah. So I feel like that's like a whole nother presentation, because there's so many different kinds of meditation. But I would say start with YouTube and maybe just kind of search around for different videos that you can try. I will also put in the chat right now the website for Dr. Joe Dispenza, which he has the meditations that I love and I really recommend. But and they're not super expensive. Like, to download it on your phone, it's going to be maybe like $20, but then you have it always on your phone. He also has walking meditations. So sometimes I would listen to the walking meditations, like go for a walk on the beach. And that was really powerful as well. He has meditations where you can be lying down or sitting up. So there's a lot of different options. And there's beginner meditations. And if you don't like what you find there, then I would definitely recommend YouTube. There's so much on YouTube in terms of meditation, because it's becoming really popular. And I think I really like this parallel or metaphor of like exercise to meditation, because like exercise, there's so many different kinds of exercise, right? And if somebody asked you, how do I start exercising? I mean, there's different things you can do. You can go for a walk on the beach. You could exercise at home in your house and do push-ups. You could go to the gym and lift weights. You could take a yoga class. And I think it's the same with meditations. There's many different types. So I would say find one that you like, because some people, they don't like to go to the gym. They would prefer to walk. So it's the same. And I also think that maybe 10, 20, 30 years from now, meditation will be as popular as exercise, because all of these benefits that are coming out that meditation can help you with anxiety, reduce stress, helps you sleep, helps you have more control in your life, helps you become more resilient. So, like all of the benefits of exercise, you also get that plus more with meditation. So, I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be more and more talked about, and pretty soon, like we're all going to be meditating just as much as we're exercising because it's like exercise for your brain, right? And I think I notice, sometimes if I'm not meditating for maybe a few weeks or months, I notice that I get angry more easily or I get irritated more easily. And I'm like, oh, I need to do my meditation. So I don't even remember what the how can I start meditating? That was the original question. So yeah, definitely YouTube, or you can look at the Joe Dispenza website.
Crystal, would you like me to share your website as well?
Yeah, I can type it in there actually. So thanks for that reminder. Like if you wanted to read more about my story, or sometimes I do podcasts, those are on my website. Just kind of more details about my personal story. So I put that in there. It's basically cancerfreeforlife.com. And I don't consistently write on it, but it's just kind of a resource where people can go if they want to know more about my story.
Thank you, Crystal. Martha Millen said, thank you for sharing your amazing experience. I believe that when you are in harmony, things will go in a better way.
Exactly. I agree. Thank you for that comment.
And there are a lot of comments from our colleagues, from our students. Let me try to go over as much as I can. Please bear with me, everyone, and don't take it personally if I skip anybody. I don't mean to.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much. Let's see.
And I also would say Deepak Chopra has really good meditations that he does for free with Oprah. He has like a 21-day program. So there's a lot out there that are great. So I would look around. Yeah.
Our colleague Mary Corey is also thanking you for telling your story. You are a great person in every way. It was really very nice.
Thank you, Mary.
Nakanarak. I'm sorry, my apologies. Thank you, Crystal. I admire you very much. I'm going to try meditation more often.
That's great.
Rosalia, thank you for sharing your story. Christina, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you. Kimberly, my 8-year-old son recently had a tumor removed. I'm so thankful it was not cancerous. Thank you for sharing, Kimberly.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, Deki. That sounds good. I do buy your book or something in the future. So you already have
awesome
interest, followers. Lupe, thank you for sharing your story. Maria, Crystal, what's the best way to, oh, you answered that one, sorry. What's the best
and
way
also to just because something else I thought about that question is, it's easy to do just at home because like some people think you need to go somewhere special to meditate. You just do it at home in a quiet place, and you don't necessarily need any meditation. It helps to have guided meditation, but you can also just pay attention to your breath, like breathing in, breathing out. That is also meditation as well, or just kind of paying attention to your thoughts and just letting them kind of go out of your mind until you kind of feel more at peace. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Yeah.
Our colleague Don, Maris, I'm not sure who Maris, and if I say that right, Don, Maris says, thank you for the story and for your overcoming. Oh, I think that's on behalf of a student. I got it.
Okay, thank you, Maris. Thank you.
Yolanda, thanks for sharing your experience. You are very brave. Lupita, thank you, teacher.
Yolanda.
Ingrid, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know so many people with cancer right now. You need to write your book soon.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Maria Zorzin, I love your story, Crystal. You are a powerful person. Thank you for sharing it with us. Your story can help other people overcome their problems. Meditating is really a way to find yourself.
Thank you, Maria.
Nadia, thank you for sharing your story. You are an incredible person. Paul, I was curious about your question here. Do you want to coexist peacefully with cancer cells when you meditate, or want to drive cancer cells out?
Actually, I really understand that question, because in the cancer world, there's this debate about whether you should view the tumor as a friend or an enemy. And some people, they don't like the term like fight cancer, because it's sort of, some people believe you should coexist and feel that the tumor is there to teach you something, and to coexist with it peacefully, because sometimes people live for many years with a tumor in their body. So I think that's a great question, Paul. And I would say, when I meditate, I'm definitely more at peace. So I try to, there's a meditation that I've done before, where it's kind of like you're trying to listen to the message that the cancer cells want to tell you, because some people believe cancer is a message. And then other times I would visualize the tumor shrinking, or I would visualize like Pac-Man eating the tumor away. And I don't know if it was like a desire to drive the cells out, but I feel like I did both at different times. So it's a good question. And I don't know what the correct way is, but I think just people should do what works for them.
Thank you for explaining that. I didn't know very well what it meant. So thank you, Crystal. Carla, our colleague Carla Stoner put in the chat that she just finished a 20-day meditation with Da Vinci, and it was really helpful.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. It's really good. I've heard it's great too. So thanks for sharing. That would be a good resource for students to do as well, I think.
There are a lot of students who are very thankful and waiting for your book. And one of the students, Mo, says, I believe you help some bodies in prayer, I think. A prayer you will help you in health, I think, or help you recover, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of praying going on, so I agree.
Ingrid, our colleague, also read your website, your blog. I read it too. It was very good. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Awesome.
Student Genoveva from Don's class is sending you blessings and thank God for the strength that he gives you. Also, I don't want to miss anybody. So Trisha, if you see, we have a pouring number of messages.
Yeah, we do have one question from Alvaro. Alvaro is wondering, did any doctor tell you how you can get cancer? How you get that type of cancer?
Oh, that's a good question. No doctor ever told me how you get cancer. And I think the reason for that is that it's very complex. It's very complicated. Not everybody gets cancer for the same reason. So we know like smoking cigarettes causes cancer, very unhealthy eating or lifestyle habits can contribute to cancer. And there's definitely a genetic component, but I was told that this type of cancer that I had actually started when I was a fetus, and it was when I was in my mother's womb. So the origin of this type of cancer is that when your spine is being formed as a baby in your mother's womb, they have these special cells called notochord cells, and they're supposed to disappear. But for some reason, if these cells don't disappear, they can form into that type of tumor later in life. And so technically what I learned is that I had this cancer since I was a fetus, and that it's, you know, slow growing. I mean, at one point it was not slow growing, but you know, I just never noticed it until a certain point. And I think stress, emotions, all of that contribute to cancer as well. So thank you for the question. It's a very good question.
Angela, our colleague Angela Senegalia wanted to remind everybody that our college, Miracosta, has a program through our health services called Shine. That is an app students can use with meditations included. So if you need help with this, maybe ask your teachers or somebody on campus that you feel comfortable with, we can help you with that. And there is a question from Nadia. Are there any songs or music that helped you heal?
That's a good question. So sounds, did you say sounds or songs? Because I thought of sound healing. I did some
songs or music.
Okay, I did some sound healing, which you can do at like a lot of yoga studios and, you know, through yoga instructors. But songs, I did have certain songs that I would kind of listen to. I don't remember what they are specifically, but I remember I had like a playlist that whenever I was feeling down, I would kind of use it. It was kind of uplifting music and kind of like, you can do this music. So that's definitely another thing I recommend for anybody who's going through a hard time. Make a really good playlist with really empowering songs. And like, I think I had This Is Your Fight song. This Is My Fight song was a big one that I listened to. And I can't really remember very many of the others, but I just remember that I had a playlist, and I think I would listen to it like when I was waiting for my radiation treatments, or you know, driving in the car to go to radiation, because that's when I really had to like pump myself up, you know, because I was like, okay, I felt like I was going almost like I was going to get tortured, and it was not fun, it was not easy, so I had to do something else to get myself in that state of mind where I could bear it, I could handle it. So, great question.
Womu says, thank you for sharing your testimony. I'm going to try the meditation.
Great.
Let's see. There is a note in Spanish from Maris, voz muy bonita, your voice, I guess. That's so sweet.
Thank you, Maris.
Let's see, what am I missing? And Angela, our colleague Angela Senegalia reminded us that it's a wonderful way to wind down. Like meditation is a wonderful way to wind down from the day and to help young people learn how to calm the mind. And she said that she does meditation with her kids before going to bed. And I think that's wonderful. I think nowadays with technology, it's too much going on for our kids too.
I think that's great. And something else that I find really intriguing is there's a lot more popping up for kids regarding meditation. And there's some schools that are starting to do meditation in school with kids, because it really makes a huge difference with grades. I mean, this has all been shown in studies. They do better with grades, they do better with behavior. And it's not only kids, it helps the adults too, but it goes both ways. So that's why I say I think it's going to be something that's everybody's going to be doing in the future.
Danny commented, thank you for sharing this hard and beautiful experience. It is very hopeful to listen to you. So happy with your story. I love meditation, although I usually do not practice it as I should.
That's okay. Thank you for sharing.
Hi, Becky. If you forget doing meditation every morning, what happened to you? Oh, if you forgot. I know you don't do it though. So if you forgot, I guess, doing the meditation, what happened to you, or how would you feel, I guess?
Okay, so meditation became so consistent that if I skipped one day of meditation, it kind of felt like I didn't take a shower. Like if you don't take a shower or you don't brush your teeth, it can kind of have that feeling. Or if you don't exercise that day, like if you consistently do something and then you kind of, and it's something that's good for you and it's healthy, and then you stop doing it, that's kind of how it feels to me. But like I said before, I have periods where I go, a few weeks or sometimes even a few months without meditating. But then I always need to get back into it because I notice I might be reacting, getting irritated, upset over silly things. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Marlene, I went on your website with my entire class, and we use it to introduce your story before this presentation.
Awesome.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Marlene.
So I see a question from Marlene. She says, what does meditation look like for you now on a daily basis now that you are busier? So that's a great question. Now I'm back full time into work and everything, but even when I went back to work full time, I was still doing meditation like at 5 a.m. And then on days when I'm really, really busy, I've kind of gotten more into breath work now, and I sort of see yoga as having the same benefits. So I might not do meditation, but then I'll do yoga, just roll out my mat for 10-15 minutes. And, because I had a busy day, and then get back to it. But I always want to try to create this lifestyle where I do have enough time. And I'm an early riser, so I can always, it's not difficult for me to wake up early if I need to. And yeah, sometimes it can just be 10 or 15 minutes. It's not always going to need to be an hour. And sort of now that I have, now that I'm no evidence of disease, and I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm not in this place where I used to be, I really don't spend 1 hour every day meditating. Now it's kind of more like it's shorter. So that's basically what it looks like. Yeah, it's maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, just whatever I have. And sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's just me and silence with my breath. So I do different things. I try to mix it up.
Thank you. Let's see, Alvaro Mariano, thank you so much. You make me happy and strong to see life different at this moment during a lot of stress. God bless you.
Thank you, Alvaro.
Does anybody want to ask a question live? You can raise your hand. We can unmute you. Don't let me read everything.
Thank you, Angela. I just saw Angela's message too.
Yes, Angela was very active too, thanking you, and your story so inspiring. Let's wait for a moment to see if we have more questions from the students. We were also left speechless, right? Now what? Right? Get to work. I think I've never done meditation, to share that, from my own experience, but I could see how a lot of times we run from one thing to the other, right? Like our minds don't get to stop for too long, right? We're like back to back to back. I have to do this and this and this and that. And I can see how just coming, finding a moment just to be yourself and not to be influenced by all these stimuli around us, right? I have Yahel Flores with a question here. Let's see if we can let her unmute. Nora, can you?
Yahel, if you could please unmute yourself. We sent you a message to unmute.
Thank you, Nora.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to hear your testimony, but let me try to speak in English because that's my class. But ¿cómo lo digo? No sé si me pueden traducir.
You can
Estoy,
do it, Yahel.
yes,
I
right.
can usually understand Spanish pretty well, so
Okay.
however you want, yeah.
Yeah, estoy impactada por su testimonio. Doy gracias a Dios por su vida, ¿verdad? Mi hermana pasó por ese proceso de cáncer. Una de las cosas muy ciertas que usted ha mencionado es meditar. Y mi hermana siempre meditaba en Dios, siempre tenía su tiempo de meditación y ella se refugió mucho en lo que es el amor, ¿verdad? Su primer novio que ella tuvo la ayudó en este proceso de lo que fue el cáncer y creer mucho en Dios y su fe en Dios. Lastimosamente, cuando ella fue sanada de cáncer, una persona sin escrúpulos, al ella cruzar la calle, sus primeros meses de ya haber sido libre de cáncer, cruzando la calle, un hombre la atropelló y al mes mi hermana murió. Pero me da gusto conocer su testimonio porque sé que meditar en Dios, poner nuestra fe en Dios, yo tengo puesta mi fe en Jesús y me gozo de escuchar lo que usted ha compartido con nosotros, que es de mucha bendición. La historia de mi hermana es un poquito diferente, ella sanó de cáncer y todo, pero al mes de ella estar libre de cáncer, una persona vino y la atropelló. Pero aún así ella se fue feliz porque ella siempre meditaba en Dios. Bendiciones.
Wow.
Sí.
Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if anybody wants to translate that, but I just want to say thank you for sharing that. And I'm really sorry to hear about your sister, or was it your
Yes.
brother? Sister.
My sister. Yeah, my sister.
Yeah.
She's only 47 years old when she passed
Wow.
away. But she's very happy woman. And then the free cancer, but the 1 month when she's free of cancer, uh, she have one people, driving, and they not see my sister. So
She got hit by a car.
yes, yes.
Wow. I am
I'm so
so
happy.
sorry. That's crazy.
I know, and I see your beautiful face, and thank you for sharing your testimony. And it's good you to meditate every day. That's what I do every day with my life, with my family. I believe it in God and Jesus. So I want to say thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Yahel. Your English is really good.
Yes, I try, but sometimes I'm feeling a little nervous. That's why, but I'm so happy to everybody understand me.
Wow. Yeah, that's an incredible story, and I've actually heard of that happening to somebody else. My friend's aunt had just recovered from cancer, and then she died from an accident. I want to say 6 months, after recovering. So it's we don't know why, but I'm happy to hear that you're still putting faith and meditating, and everybody's experience is going to be different from mine. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Yahel. I think for those of you who are not Spanish speakers, I'm not perfect either, but Yahel's story was something like her sister had cancer, and then she was able to recover through meditation and with the help of her boyfriend. I think I got that right. Yahel was speaking very fast, so I tried to understand. And then when her sister recovered, unfortunately, I think a month after, right, she got run over by a car, which is, yeah, very unfortunate. Did I get that right, Yahel?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing, and thank
Yes.
you for finding strength in the midst of pain. It's not easy, but we hang on to the things that we love, and as Crystal was saying, thinking of all the things we're grateful for. There is a question from Rosalia. Do you eat a strict diet?
So I don't know if the question is meant to be when I was going through cancer or right now, but when I was going through cancer, I did not eat a strict diet. Somebody else had this question in the morning, and the reason why, I wanted to eat a healthy diet, but I was living with my parents, and my mother was cooking for me, and she always cooked very delicious I don't know, not so healthy meals, and always had cookies and cakes, and everybody says the worst thing that you can eat when you have cancer is sugar. I still ate sugar. I didn't want to, but I just didn't have the discipline. I'm a sugar addict. Um, and before getting cancer, I ate a lot of vegetables and fruits. I was very healthy, but every once in a while I would have, like, ice cream or whatever. And to this day, it's like my big, um, just something that I'm always trying to overcome, like a sugar, trying not to have sugar. But and also I was on steroids, and steroids make your appetite really go through the roof. And when you're on steroids, you eat and you still feel hungry. So I actually gained like 25 pounds when I was going through cancer, because I wasn't able to walk and I was eating a lot, and I didn't have a strict diet. The only time I had a strict diet was when I was in the Oasis of Hope Hospital. It was like vegetarian meals, very clean, green juices, that kind of thing. So I wanted to maintain that, but I just didn't have the discipline. For some reason, I did have the discipline for meditation, but I didn't have the discipline for nutrition. Yeah.
I think Rosalia actually typed later on, if you follow strict diet now.
Oh, now? Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm not perfect, but I always try to be aware. I've always believed that, food has a lot to do with everything. It's not the only thing. I also pay attention to my emotions, meditating, stress, but definitely I pay attention to what I eat, but I'm not perfect. But I definitely try to avoid certain things, like avoid too much sugar, only have everything in moderation, basically, is what I would say.
And one last comment from Mona Lisa. You are a new person after everything. So what more difficult for you I'm not sure. What more
Maybe it's
difficult
not
for
a question.
you during
Maybe
the
that's more
process?
difficult,
I think what could be more difficult?
or maybe what was the most difficult? Definitely the pain, 100%. Just being in the pain and all the anxiety about the pain medications. And really another very difficult part was just having this thing inside of you, this tumor that was just getting bigger and bigger. And sometimes I would feel like it was a monster invading my body at a very destructive pace. So that was also really difficult.
Thank you everyone for your support, for Crystal, for attending, for listening, for using your English to express yourselves. Thank you for being here. We all appreciate your time. And thank you, colleagues, thank you, instructors, for bringing your students here to attend, learn, practice their listening and speaking, also their writing skills. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nora and Yadimir, for making this possible, and our PIO. We're very thankful to everyone who made this event possible, starting with Crystal, our guest speaker. We will make the recording available for you. Ask your teachers. We need to give probably like at least a week time frame for it to be ready, and we will post it on our webpage. We have a link for events. So ask your teachers after a week or so, or maybe term 2. We'll be happy to share that with you. Thank you very much again. Let's see, Carla is thanking you. Everyone is thanking you for the—
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for your comments and your questions, and for making time out of your day to listen to my story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We will stop the recording. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.
Bye, everyone.